for the past year, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, right? Over 300, driving to work, driving back from work, an hour there, an hour back. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I've concluded, I've shortened them down to a list of three, my three favourite, all from The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. So let's get into it. Right, my favourite podcast by far is a guy called Gawdat, and essentially he states, if you are unhappy, if you are depressed, it is because of you. It might not be the reality you want to accept, but it's the reality you have to face. Let's talk more about it. So, happiness is the comparison between the reality in real life and the expectation of the reality we create in our heads. It's the comparison between these two that create our happiness. And you know, one of the best examples of this is nature, isn't it? We go outside, we go in nature, we expect there to be dirt, we expect there to be ants, to be flies, for the trees to be crooked. And so when we go into nature, we're happy. Even though there's flies, even though there's ants, even though it's dirty, we expect it to be dirty, don't we? We expect it to be messy. And so when it is messy, our expectation meets the reality, and that's what makes us happy. So happiness seems to be quite a simple thing, right? So why is it that so many of us are unhappy? In today's society, we've all become accustomed to thinking that our lives are unfair. We're not taking accountability of how we feel, and we're blaming it on other people or other things. Realistically, it's quite pathetic, because if we did look at it realistically, we would realize that we are the reason why we are depressed and we are sad. We will consume negative articles, negative news, negative information, but then we will question why we feel so negative and sad and depressed in our lives. We as a society, as a whole, we've lost the ability to have accountability in our life. We will blame someone else. We will blame something, anything but ourselves, for why we feel depressed. But you need to understand something. You are depressed because of you. You are depressed because of the actions you take on a consistent basis that make you feel that way. Naturally, being surrounded in negativity has made us really good at finding the negative in our daily lives. But one of the best ways to counter this is by writing a happiness list. I am happy when I go for a coffee. I am happy when I do YouTube work. Everything that makes me happy is stuff I can do right now. Nobody writes in a happy list, I am happy when I buy a Ferrari. Yet, all of us, well, the majority of us seems to, for me anyway, the majority of us have this massive ambition, massive goal of buying this lovely car, by buying this lovely house. However, the irony of it is, we would never write something like that in that happy list. The stuff that makes us happy is the stuff we can do right now in this present moment to make us happy. That is Gawdat. What an incredible podcast. On to the next. Right, the next person we're talking about today is a guy called Steve Peters. Now, this guy is a specialist in the human mind, and he states that any negative thought that we have in our life is down to a thing called a chimp system. Let's talk about that. In today's society, we've become so prone to negative thinking, haven't we? What we need to understand is these thoughts, they come from a thing called a chimp system. Within us, we have three systems, right? The human system, the chimp system, and the computer. But the chimp system is what we need to look at. You see, the chimp system is what we would use in the wild. You can imagine in the wild back in caveman times, there would be tribes that would kill us. There would be dangerous environments. We needed something that would protect us. The whole point of the chimp system would be to protect us from these environments. And so it would give us these negative thoughts that would stop us to get in a vulnerable position where we could be hurt, or even worse, where we would be killed. The chimp system was good in the wild, but the issue is we're no longer in the wild. So the human system is something that has been built over the years to counter the chimp system. The thing is, it's something we need to actively practice over the years to get better at using. So there are two main ways we can counter the negative thoughts coming from our chimp system, and they both surround maximizing the human system. Let's get into it. So we can all relate to these stupid, annoying, negative thoughts, right? But how do we actually counter them? Well, believe it or not, but talk to yourself. Because when you have a conversation with yourself, you talk from your chimp system and your human system interprets it. In other words, it comes from your chimp, which is your emotional side, right? And it gets interpreted by your logical side. And essentially it shuts down the chimp because it comes to a conclusion and the chimp shies away. The other method we can use is something called put it in a box. When you find some free time, let your brain vent. Let it say what it wants to say. Though the majority of our negative thoughts are rubbish, some can actually be valuable. Let it say what it wants to say, and soon enough, it will shut up and shy away. The point I want to get across is that these negative thoughts, they're not pointless, they're not useless. Some may be valuable, but above all of that, it is part of our human instinct to have these thoughts to protect us. Remember, in the wild, in caveman times, they're there to protect us. You are healthy for having these thoughts, but just remember, they're not telling you how to act or feel, but just a suggestion and nothing more. That was Steve Peters. Now on to the next. So the final person we're talking about today is a guy called Tim Grover, and he trained Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant to become the animals that they are. Not only physically, but mentally as well. And let me tell you, some of the things they talk about is stuff you need to hear. Let's get into it. Talking about a lack of self-accountability in this modern world, we like to reward ourselves for the small stuff. You know, we like to praise ourselves for showing up. But what we need to realize here, that showing up is none of the battle, right? I've come up to the shed in my garden. I brought all my mic equipment with me. I got all of my notes here, right? What am I meant to do? Not record the video? Just relax, go on my phone, procrastinate on Instagram, whatever? No! Sign that contract with yourself that you go to the gym. No question about it. It's not just going to kickboxing, it's performing well in kickboxing. It's not just recording this YouTube video, it's recording this video to a high standard. Hold yourself to a high standard. And if you don't meet that standard, just know that there is someone out there who is holding themselves to that high standard. And over a period of time, that person will become infinitely times better than you. I don't have much time to carry on anymore about this podcast, but just know that Tim Grover is an incredible person, and I understand why he's had the duty to train the best people in the world. Those have been my top 3 podcasts on the Diary of the CEO, but just in general, they have been my 3 favorite podcasts that I've listened to in my life. Great value, great wisdom, great lessons learned. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I shall see you in the next video. Take care.